Welcome back. Now, how far would you be willing to travel to survive? Me? I got a Wendy's down on the corner. I've got a grocery store down on the corner and a gas station too. So I guess my answer is down on the corner. These animals travel way farther.
Loggerhead sea turtles make a very difficult journey from Japan to Mexico that has puzzled researchers for quite some time. The epic migration is known as the Lost Years, but what's interesting about this is that the waters of the Pacific Ocean seem too cold for turtle crossing to researchers. Now, researchers at Stanford University in California found that there are pathways with warmer water that they travel through, which they've named thermal corridors. They travel thousands of miles, and with climate change making the ocean warmer, the species faces new threats. The likely cause of the thermal corridor could be related to El Niño and other warming conditions. While this incredibly long and treacherous journey is fascinating, researchers believe it should also be concerning because it is driven by global climate change and could have catastrophic consequences for many species. Locations once considered impassable to some species now aren't, which means that there is now a shift in migratory pathways for creatures ranging from seabirds to white sharks. Loggerhead sea turtles also face being accidentally caught in fishing nets in the North American area. Researchers did warn that their study only represents a portion of what is happening with sea turtles at the moment, and that they would need to create more satellite tags and do more tests in the region to fully test their hypothesis. It was believed that swifts could fly about 310 miles a day, but new research shows they can actually fly more than 500 miles a day. These fascinating creatures spend most of their life on the wing. They sleep, eat, and mate in flight and only land to nest. Swifts in the UK have one of the longest migrations in the world. They travel 14,000 miles every year. This means in their lifetime, they make the equivalent of 7 round trips to the moon. The birds also time departure so winds are favorable for the flight ahead. They don't directly focus on local winds, but are able to predict what the weather may be like along their journey. They fly to and from Africa using routes that are unknown according to SWNS. It's also unknown how they come up with their weather forecasts. Researchers were amazed at how fast they travel. They managed to do this by using a fly and forage strategy to easily find food along the way. Since they rely on insects, they don't have to load up before a long trip, reducing how much energy they use during flight and allowing them to gain higher speeds.
Sheep herding in southwest Tibet is a tradition stretching back generations. But despite what it might look like from the sky, their techniques are anything but traditional. These are the Gangba sheep of Gangba County. They live at altitudes of nearly 15,500 feet above sea level. And when they're born, they're tagged with one of these. It might look simple enough, but the tag contains tons of information about the individual creature, including its heritage, vaccines, etc. And when combined with around 180,000 other tags on around 180,000 other sheep, now you're talking about some big data sets. The tagged sheep span some 25 cooperatives, which are now working together to commercialize their operations. And it's working. A decade ago, they were only able to commercialize around 10% of the Gangba sheep the county produced. Now that number is 68.8% and growing, which has added the equivalent of around $2,238 into the pockets of each herdsman on average, according to one of the co-op's managers, allowing the next generation of herdsmen to keep the area's traditions alive, albeit with non-traditional, high-tech means. These frogs wear bright colors, which oftentimes indicates they're an extremely poisonous variety. But now they're being outfitted with pants for science. This is behavioral biologist Dr. Andreas Pasukanis. He and his team have been locating and fitting poisonous tree frogs in South America with little frog pants. Here's why.
So to study any behavior in the field, first you need the ability to find the animal, observe it, and follow it around. So big challenge for this study, and something I've been working on for years, trying to understand the behavior of these little frogs, is putting tiny tracker tags on them.
Their solution? This. Tiny little tracker tags attached to tiny little waistbands. They safely attach to the tiny frogs. And they have to be small, as the frogs they're attaching them to are only 2 to 4 centimeters big. The whole study is looking at the movements and hormone levels of 3 frog species, specifically looking at their ability to navigate the jungle. 2 of the 3 species are predominantly raised by their male parents, with the study's conclusions challenging the long-held belief that rather than specialized adaptation for navigation in different sexes, there was actually a hormonal component, meaning sex hormones could have an impact on a creature's ability to navigate.
Tiny little skinny jeans on frogs, huh? Where have all the good flies gone? I'll tell you what I want to see. I want to see these frogs wearing mom jeans. Whoever thought mom jeans were a good idea? I'll tell you, no one. We'll be right back.